So how are you feeling about? Oh, actually, we're going right into it. So Tiny Dancers bans Warhead. Oh My Science bans Braxis, and Tiny Dancers taking us back to BOE.
So we get that first BOE match that we wanted, and
do you really want to take Oh My Science here?
I want to see if they do the test tracer again with that Lucio. I think it was you said.
It was Kerrigan, Tracer, right. Lucio. There was no Tassadar. It was double support with a Lucio, and I forget the tank they ran, but it was savage.
Yeah, we were saying, like, I think by the end of it, it was like Tracer had like 19 kills, and there was 1 death from them, and there were 29 kills, from all my sites. So it was a strong composition. So it's definitely something that I personally look forward to seeing this. It looks like we're going to have Tiny Dancers on the left, and Oh My Science will be on the right. So we know.
Oh My Science will be on the right this time.
Yes, they like to do that fun thing where they swap everyone around. So yeah. You got to keep the caster on their toes.
So I always wonder this, and I feel like you don't see it enough in the organized play, is my go-to counter for Tracer in my games, obviously not super high level or organized games, is Taunt Varian. He's such a good counter. You just E click on her, R click on her, and she can't do anything for that 1.75 or however many seconds it is. And I feel like we don't see a lot of it. Varian lacks wave clear, but maybe we could see him here. I think he's actually pretty viable on Battlefield. I think that's where he would be not as bad. You don't need as much wave clear. It's not something like him with a Spider Queen, where that's going to really hurt you.
All right. So my mind is just, it's like going all over the place. Like just what they're going to be going into. I want the Junkrat. That's realistic.
I want to see it too.
Can we just get one game? Like, I just want to watch someone play Junkrat at a high tier, level of these guys. They obviously play way higher than I do. But it's just like one of those things, like getting to watch it and see like the talent build, the diversity that they're going to play, the way that they play it, and just kind of looking at it yourself. You're just like, I would have never considered to utilize the mine that way, or use traps that way.
Yeah. But either way, let's excited to see it and see if we see which ult we would see and everything. So I'm really interested. Straight away, Garrosh ban coming out of Oh My Science. Was that? I think last time we cast them too, that was the same thing. They just said nope. Yeah, most of the time it was just Garrosh, and they said we just don't want to deal with it.
And right here, we're going to see, and this is honestly, it's not even just like HeroesHype. I've casted for different leagues. I've just been all over the place, and I've watched other games, and like the most common bans that I see is always Garrosh Tassadar. Those just seem to be like the first 2 bans that I consistently see. Greymane being picked up here, though, from Oh My Science right away.
Yeah, I think, honestly, with the Hungering Arrow nerfs, Greymane is going to be your number 1 racer on the Immortals. I think that's what are you going to do to counter a Greymane? He's just good in every situation. He does a mix of spell and auto attack damage. You can go blinds, but you're not going to fully counter him. So I think it's a great first pickup.
And overall, I mean, you can go, as you were saying, into the blinds and stuff, but realistically, it's hard to kind of counter him because he does have that spell ability. But at the same time, there's kind of, specific picks we see on maps like this, and I'm wondering if, I don't actually expect it, but I wonder if you see like an Anubarak with a web wrap.
That would
just
be
to counteract some of that damage or healing. But realistically, on the side of Tiny Dancers, I would just expect like an ETC Rhaegar. Yes!
Yeah, ETC Rhaegar. Nice. I was thinking maybe an early, because they would have to come in before the second ban phase here. And Brightwing is so good anti-dive. And Tyrael Lucio. This is exactly what I wanted to see. I can't wait to see. Are we going to see the Kerrigan coming out? This is super aggressive. And now Oh My Science has the chance to ban that Brightwing, which I think is the linchpin if you're playing against this kind of comp, is the new Brightwing with the Polymorph and Emerald Wind. Just if you ETC is amazing, and Rhaegar too with the Ancestral, but Brightwing can just shut down those dive characters.
I'm curious. Look on the side of Tiny Dancers, like looking at the draft, what do you realistically want to ban here? What do you think that's gonna really help the dive? Malthael's not a bad choice at all here. I was thinking they would actually go more into the poke range. I was kind of thinking it'd actually be Gul'dan or Li Ming realistically for the resets if they're going for the dive.
Yeah, leaving Greymane is crazy. I don't know if Malthael was really on the radar for my side. Solid pick, great pick, but I'm not so sure. After watching their super aggressive comp that they played on this map last week, I'm thinking that they're not gonna be sort of compromising their composition with something like a Malthael pick, who is just a good solid pick. I think the way they played this style was so all in. I mean, Kerrigan Tracer, we were saying first game, we are like, this is crazy. The onus is on them to perform. And then we watched them do it and we just sort of, we're like, it's genius. You tell someone before, Kerrigan Tracer guys on Battlefield of Eternity, they're going to say, yeah, all right, bro. Yeah, it sounds like a great comp. But I don't think they're going to compromise. I just want to see Tiny Dancers really has the opportunity now to make some counterplay. Vala getting out of there for the race. I think Tiny Dancers has to come up with something quick to mitigate this.
I don't think it's realistic, but like part of me is just like, what if they took the Malthael? Because like, all right, so you ban out Malthael for immortal damage potentially, yes, or because the fact that maybe they have double tank, or it's just good with a dive comp, or maybe they ban it out because they're going Cho'Gall.
Maybe they ban it out because they're going Cho'Gall.
I would just it'd be a fun thing to cast, but realistically, great. I would probably put a prioritization onto something like a Lunara. That's going to be pretty beneficial for them. I do believe the dots.
I want to see the Brightwing too. Yeah, I think Lunara, with the extra range she gets on this map, would be great. You'd be forced to go into maybe small. So the thing, if you're going to dive on this map, you're going to go into small chokes, and then there's ETC with the mushroom. We're going to see Abathur Arthas.
Okay, so who are they cloning?
I've seen the Arthas clone. I've seen the Rhaegar clone. The Arthas clone can be terrifying. Maybe this is pretty left field, but I love to see a Jaina clone. Those traits work with one another. So if one Jaina has the slow on, both the Jainas, all their stuff is critting. I don't think that's what we're going to see here. I don't think there's reliable immortal damage, but this seems like a stall comp and going macro with the Abathur, and trying to get ahead.
We talked about that a little bit in when we were just kind of buying time earlier tonight. Like we talked about Battlefield of Eternity exactly, where you can get these compositions where you don't need to fight. Like you can just sit there and body damage and just push the enemy team back. And if they've exhausted all their options, you can whittle them down over time. But there's a Li Ming that, as we talked about for the the resets on a composition like that, but the Stukov, that's going to be
I like don't see what could come out on this Tiny Dancers comp that would truly convince me that they have the edge on all my science here. Just that whole draft is
hypercarry Alarak with the hat,
dude.
Or they just go realistically. You could just go Illidan. Like if we're talking baseline heroes, this composition lends itself towards Illidan. The route from Arthas gives him an in. It also gives him an out. You have ETC for the power slide. Rhaegar with the slow. It's a little bit of a stretch in some sort of way, I think. But the thing is, the Abathur really signals it to me. And Alarak could be strong, but I think Illidan would be stronger for the consistent immortal burn, especially if Abathur does go into a hat build where he's giving the buffs. Definitely, I think that would be the direction that if I was the drafter.
I like it. I just think that Illidan, you end up with 4 melee, and if Illidan ends up in the silence, you're done.
That's true.
I like the Cassia, but again, I'm not. It's defensive, but this kind of defensive comp doesn't strike me the way My Science's defensive comp did on
the only
Tomb of the Spider Queen.
And then the only reason I was just also thinking Illidan was just to dive the backline Li Ming Lucio. You got Hunt or Meta to get in that backline. You've got them split away. You can then pressure up with the rest of your team. I mean, and then double Illidan too. That would be something that I would be terrified about. So it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes my brain goes a little quick matchy, but at the same time, like,
and
I still think like it's still a good solid lineup.
I feel like people too much discount things that don't seem to them to be meta, or they're underplayed, so they discount them immediately. But I don't think that's the case. But are we going to be seeing Arthas clones or Cassia clones? I wonder, because Cassia's value really comes out of the charge strike. So let's see if we end up, who we end up with getting cloned. I think it'll be Arthas. He just offers a lot of zone control.
All right, and on the left-hand side, we are going to have Tiny Dancers with Popo on the Abathur, Norseman on that ETC, Josel on that Cassia. 10 seconds. Mr. Christie will be on that Rhaegar, and Philem will be on the Arthas.
And on the right side, we have Oh My Science with Even in Death Battery. Oh, not Even in Death Battery anymore. On Stukov, Hacho on Tyrael, Dark Chimera on Lucio, Troy 1010 on Li Ming, and we've got Suryu on that Greymane. We got a little bit of a party bush going on here. Top Greymane looking like he wants to walk out there, but thinking better of it. Says, it's very quiet here. As long as he doesn't E into this wave. Don't Q E into this wave, man. Please don't do it. Okay, they're clearing out.
The question is, like, are they going to go in for it or no? Okay, so they don't. They go ahead, and they're actually going to go ahead and just lane pretty proper here. Doesn't look like it will be too much of an issue.
That's experience, though, right? It, looks like you're just AFK in the tower, but that's experience saying, like, I'm looking at the mini-map. I don't see them. Why am I going to dive in and push that?
Exactly. There's no point. We'll wait for the lane to clear itself out. Plus the fact that there was the Abathur, Locust pushing up that lane was a little bit of a signaler too, but Norseman taking a little bit of damage, going to go ahead and power slide out of here without a problem. Tyrael will go ahead and use that Aldruin's Might just to kind of maybe pop in and body block someone as they go through the gate.
So we're seeing Arthas and Abathur in the lane, so it's actually 4-man versus 3-man. I'm curious. I would have thought Abathur would have been on the bot and then hatting, so they have the Locust assist and then just hatting top when it's necessary. Maybe I'll be doing the opposite, sort of hatting bot when it's necessary. A little initiation by Tyrael as the Eldruin's in. Norseman taking damage from Lucio. But they were going to move into the Immortal phase, and Li Ming already trying to put out some good dips there.
She does do a little bit of damage onto this Immortal, but they're going to go ahead and Tiny Dancers will start to get on to this point, making sure that they just zone away this damage. We'll look to see Norseman probably body block a little bit of the orbs and missiles that come in from Troy. Actually, never mind. He's taking quite a bit of damage himself.
Yeah, we actually have so much
here. No, it's they're zoning really well, and just realistically, just no one's picking up a kill. Norseman a little bit low, gonna get booped away by Dark Chimera, but he will be able to get through that gate, tap that well, and probably will come right back into the fight.
Wow, the amount of damage coming out of Oh My Science. Philem actually is going to be caught even with the Abathur. That's not going to be enough. But Oh My Science was all at essentially 80-90% HP, and they managed to zone out Tiny Dancers with only Rhaegar with the chain heal as basically your only heal right now.
It's strong. I mean,
how do you sustain with that? It's really difficult.
You hope for the Abathur shielding? I really don't know. It looks like he did not take the damage, or excuse me, the attack speed buff at 4. He actually went into the mine build, so we're going to see a lot more mines coming out from Abathur. Definitely utilizing those for the slow on these rotations, as well as maybe potentially weakening some members to get a potential pick, as well as just kind of getting vision throughout the map. This is kind of small, so it does work out for him. I believe he does have pretty much global range with those things at that point.
Yeah, nothing else unusual coming out of any of the builds, although Li Ming is Force armor is sort of just the pick against magic damage, but it looks like maybe a magic missile build coming out of Li Ming. I think we'll probably still see Calamity, but no dominance at 4.
That's actually that's interesting. Now then we're not going to be seeing that, but this is a pretty strong push at this point. Typically, we just see the gate realistically getting knocked down, but they're definitely getting a lot more in this push here. Troy at 10-10 going to go ahead and just zone a few of these members away. They go ahead and get this first 4, and we talked about this early, like way earlier in the stream, that some Immortals, these they're very low into the game, but they end up getting so much value. We're pushing Heat Front Gate at 4 minutes into the match. Meanwhile, though, Philem and Dark Chimera are going to go ahead and just kind of have a back and forth. He's going to open that up a little bit for his team.
And I'm feeling like if you're Tiny Dancers, you do think of that for as sort of a calculated loss. When you're playing with the Abathur, it's going to be hard to team fight earlier, again, especially against such an aggressive comp. You're only down by about half a level now. You're just trying to buy time into 10. You're just trying to make sure you don't lose that whole keep front wall on the first Immortal, because now even if you lose the second Immortal, you have a full fort in front of it. You have time to recover. It's not like the Tomb of the Spider Queen where we saw them taking that 8-minute keep and then you're scrambling to recover.
Well, the other factor to consider, excuse me, we have a Howling Blast going out onto Hacho. Looks like they're going to aggress out here a little bit, but no, there won't be
a fight. Nothing happening.
The other thing I was going to note really quickly is I believe that last Immortal died around like 4 minutes, 30 seconds into the game, so we're looking at the next one to be around, doing caster math, it's 6 minutes 15, something like that. So I believe it's 145 after the death, so look to see them be a little bit of aggressive, then start to back off towards that maybe like 6:15 mark, making sure that they go back and tap up if they need to. But realistically, the push that they've got in this bottom lane is so strong that Tiny Dancers, they can't even really get out of their gate.
And the problem with this one, as far as Immortal phases go, is Tiny Dancers they do have a good window of opportunity here. They're only about 8.5 on the side of Oh My Science. They got to force the fight here. He's coming in. Norseman's coming in with the power slide. Hacho looks like he's caught out, but he may have Eldritch Ruins up. Battery taking a lot of damage, but he gets a good spread and procs his trait. Troy taking a ton of damage, but a good blink. And then the face melt kill from Norseman at range and a power slide into Tyrael. Looks a little bit out of position. Tyrael's also going to be falling. Dazzle trying to dodge that trait. 47 HP.
Ouch.
Thank you, Abathur. And that was exactly what the words were coming out of my mouth. They need to force a fight now so that this does not stretch into a 9 versus 10 battle that's just sort of easily taken by Oh My Science. Now, Tiny Dancer's sort of looking down and saying, all right, we can get to 10. This phase is going to be drawn out a little bit, but everyone's res on the side of Oh My Science, so they need to be careful. Norseman taking a lot of damage, and Arthas strong front line. I mean, very difficult to break through. And they're just going to play defense, soaking, trying to get to 10, go into the halftime show.
So this is the one thing I was going to note really quickly, because I'm assuming this is just going to be a protection until someone kind of oversteps, and it looks like I wouldn't be too surprised to see maybe a camp being picked up in the meantime. No, actually, it's going to be aggressive. The one thing I was going to note, though, is that ATC, if Norseman just let them get this transition, I don't think they needed to fight at that top point. It was a little bit of a delay, but realistically, they should have just let this kind of happen. It puts them in a better position. They could have sent back some of their members at that time. But the other factor to consider, too, is that the longer you delay that top, just peeking up that top lane on the minimap, it's starting to stack up so strong. And that's because of the Abathur value. So, there's a duality. Like, you can delay and it's very powerful, but at the same time, it's really given a lot of time for Oh My Science to get kind of set up here, and they are going to get an extreme amount of value as they just kind of poke with that Li Ming and just slowly burn down the Immortal.
But it's looking now like Tiny Dancers is going to be taking 10 first. Now they're getting on the aggressive. They think they're going to be turning into 10. They need to not start this fight before they get their heroic abilities in. It seems like Oh My Science recognizes this. It's going to be dead even. We're going to have a brawl, clone, and everything coming in just a second. Because now Oh My Science is Immortal taking a lot of damage. Norseman at about half. Good cleanse into the power slide. Lucio moving aggressively. Greymane coming in on the flank. Throws a big cocktail. Sound barrier comes down and the Sank, but it looks like Tiny Dancers just going to back out of that. Popo taking a lot of damage. Oh, actually, that's just a clone. But huge, making them burn those two cooldowns. The Sank and the Sound barrier sort of a miss Sound barrier was a good move, but I think the sync was a little bit of a misplay.
As well as they got a flailing swipe out of them too. It was like flailing swipe, sanctification, and sound barrier almost all at the same time. So a little bit of a miscommunication on the side of Mosh up. We do have a little bit of a Greyman actually diving into the back. Mr. Christie taking quite a bit of damage. Ancestral does come out onto one of the members. Mosh can grab two of the members here, but we do have Greyman falling early in this fight. Mr. Christie so low, he will be falling in this engagement as well. Philum and Norseman are really, really low. Do they end up getting out? We lose the ETC, but Tyrael could fall in here. We do actually lose the Tyrael. Does Philum die, though?
That's I think it's going to die, yeah. What is this? Fight is crazy. 3 members dead on each team. Troy... Valkyrie coming out. I didn't know he had a Valkyrie pick.
Lightning Ball. That would have killed Troy.
Yeah. I mean, he was...
I mean, hey, Valkyrie, if you have the setup for it, it can work, but Dark Chimera, just getting this poke damage, this is about to be... Is this about to be a Lucio who just ends up stealing this Immortal away?
Lucio v. Cassia, but here comes Greyman. Cassia's in huge trouble. She's going to die.
That is going to be a staggered death. They're going to go ahead. Ceaser should be able to get this quite... Actually, no. He's going to back off, make sure he doesn't die out here. Strong not to stagger the death.
So it was a Cassia clone. I wonder if the Arthas clone would have been more beneficial. It did, despite Oh My Science burning all their cooldowns early. That's a very close fight. It was only a 1 or 2 man mosh, and everyone had taken a lot of damage by the time it went off. So it's really hard to say which way these fights are going to continue to go as the game goes on. As long as Tiny Dancers can mitigate the damage from this Immortal, I think we could have a game on our hands here.
Norseman going to slide in a little bit, zone a few of them back as this Immortal does come down in the lane. Valkyrie going to grab one of the members. They dive right onto Greyman. Flailing Swipe going to come out. There is also the sound barrier just to make sure that he stays safe. Jozel a little bit low here from Dark Chimera. He will go in a little bit deep, but he will just back right out to his teammates. There's a Howling Blast that will come out from Phildum. And it looks like they're starting to poke a few of these tanks down, and Norseman falling a little bit low. Ancestor will come out onto him. He will be able to stay alive. Popo, the clone, will die. And at this point, this Immortal has been kind of chunked down, and it looks like they're just going to get the fort. Actually, they're going to get an ETC, and I expect a little bit more. That is a reset for Troy. Blind does go out from the Cassia. Mr. Christie falling so low, Philum, and he will not be getting out.
I have to say, Troy doing so much work on the flanks in these fights. He launched a combo that hit on both ETC and, I believe, Rhaegar, which forced out the early Ancestral, and then... The problem with this composition is Stu, Cobb, and Lucio are just offering up so much sustain healing, and Rhaegar really does AoE heal, but he's burst every 12 seconds, and if that's on cooldown and Ancestral's on cooldown, you can take a window of opportunity, especially with such a bursty, aggressive composition.
Rabither.
Oh, absolutely caught.
Just going to get bodied across the map. Even the blink that went in for the extra little bit of damage there. Or excuse me, the wave of force, I believe it was. Either way, though, we do actually have an invade onto this camp. We have a DC sliding in. Battery going to go ahead and just get that silence, which will zone them away. And they go ahead and steal this away from Tiny Dancers.
Yeah, that's good play. I mean, just forcing their position on the map with that, but they're down. I don't think they could really contest. They didn't want to lose some people and lose a keep, but it looks like... My Science is going to be trying to force down at least this front wall. Look at this build out of Li Ming if you have just a second. We have Force Armor, Charge Blast, Seeker, and Cannoneer, and I assume we'll see a Mirror Ball coming out of her at 16. It's an interesting, different build. Wow, Greyman just goes right in, goes for the throat on Cassia. She falls. Norseman's low. I think we have to go for the throat, reset. He's getting cleansed and a nice Ancestral. But it doesn't look like Oh My Science has gone too deep, despite being all the way in here. They're going to just take a keep off the back of that Abither staggered death, to be honest.
No, that was just such a powerful play for Oh My Science, mostly because the fact that dive into Cassia there from the Greyman was so powerful, and they had the camp just to go ahead and also kind of pick up a couple of those things too. So that was just overall a really, really good pickup that we saw from those members. But at this point, it looks like we're going to have kind of an even back and forth for these Immortals, and nothing too crazy, realistically.
I think that Oh My Science is just looking for 16. Play it safe. They know they have the zone control here. They have Immortal health advantage. But their soak is way out. They don't really have anyone soaking or a global. We had Valkyrie put down with a miss, but that's only a minute cooldown, so that shouldn't hurt Tiny Dancers too much. Some good poke damage coming out. Again, look at the HP bars of Tiny Dancers. Leeming is just getting so much value with the magic missiles.
It's a phenomenal build that she's been doing out of this game, and definitely getting a lot of poke damage out, and also just that Stukov just spreading that pus around. They go dive in for this fight here. Flailing Swipe will go out. There is the root onto 3 of the members, but they completely disengage with that Flailing Swipe. We also have to consider the fact that there is still Sanctification and the Sound Barrier, so they have all these assets. Also just Wave of Force for a little bit of a pushback. Popo is actually going to be cloning that Cassia, and I think it looks like they're just going to kind of just disengage from this. They don't want to lose out on a fight pre-16. They'll wait for that side soak, get that in, but it looks like at this point they've taken the fight to Oh My Science, and there's potentially some kills going to be happening here.
Yeah, there's no army here on Arthas. They did go for the throat on Arthas before, but he's got it down now and very low on HP. Dark Chimera actually getting Valkyried into the Sound Barrier Sanctification. They should be able to finish off this Immortal. I think that was a good disengage by Tiny Dancers. That was the one thing I was going to say as they were being aggressive onto the right side of the map was, well, Oh My Science is just content to back up here because if they want to take a fight that looks good for them, there's a lot of retreat space plus the talent advantage. So I'm glad that they sort of just mitigated the loss there. They still have Mosh Pit. If they can get a good mosh, outside of the boss's stun range, they can turn this around right now. It's just one good play, separating their chances in this game.
No, this is kind of the do or die moment. Realistically, they actually get a dive here onto Norseman, who's kind of trying to come in for a flank, and it doesn't seem to be working out. Mm-hmm. We will have film walking through that silence, and it looks like they're just trying to dive onto these members and just try and get a fight. We do have Tyrael going in with the holy ground, and there is the cleanse. They get the Valkyrie as well. And at this point, Flame the Slave will go out, and they just completely want to disengage from this.
And Norseman, I think that was just Oh My Science identified immediately what I just. The one chance for Tiny Dancers here was the big mosh. Norseman going for the flank, and every time he was looking for that the slide, he was just getting pushed back. And look at how fast the core is dying to Immortal. It's dead. The core is dead.
Cassia falling there, Rhaegar falling there. There was a mosh at the last second, but GGs are called, and that is going to be the second matchup going over to Oh My Science once again. And we've got some good matches coming out, and as we kind of noted earlier in the games that we were watching, they typically don't repeat a lot of heroes. I think so far we've seen only one repeat hero from Oh My Science, which was with the Greymane, I do believe. Did he pick Greymane in the first game? Yes. Yeah. So
that's a solid regular pick. That's nothing out of the ordinary.
It definitely, and the other thing too is it just shows that they've got a lot of versatility in their draft and in their hero rosters. So that's definitely something to consider and honestly be a little bit worried about. Just quickly, gotta just say, Li Ming did 62,000 hero damage. Cassia was 45,000. So it just puts it in perspective. Greymane still did more than Cassia. So just the overall damage that came out from them, that Li Ming with the dive comp with the Li Ming reset was so strong. And we saw that exactly. Like they exploited the fact that they could get those early kills and keep getting resets. And it snowballed, as we kind of talked about the first time we were coming to this map. Once it's in a team's favor, it kind of stays there on this map. It really feels like that.
Yeah, I just don't feel like Cassie was a strong enough pick for a clone target. I was getting into before, her real strong teamfight value comes out of charge strikes. And when you're looking at a clone, you're talking about a talentless hero. And I don't know if Arthas was the right choice either. I think they needed to clone a damage dealer to make sure this comp had some of the oomph that they needed. But I just think Oh My Science's recognition of their win condition there at the end, when I was saying, okay, we're looking at a sort of even game, Tiny Dancer still has the mosh up. Oh My Science said I feel like they're saying the exact same thing in comms, where they were just saying, okay, they only have the mosh, watch the mosh, just stay spread out, and we've got this. ETC tried to come in on the flank. They identified that immediately he was flanking. They converged on him a bit. And then I don't know if you were watching, Arthas was caught and ETC went to power slide in. He had a nice position. They were all sort of grouped up. He went to power, as soon as he went to power slide in, they had to disengage from Stukov with the filling swipe, and ETC was knocked back. He never got any opportunity to get in there and get that mosh. It's not like he whiffed it. They just completely denied any play from him, and then the Immortal killed the cord so quick.
Just chunked it. But actually, just really quickly, a couple of notes here. We're being corrected by one of the members of the team in Twitch chat. Stukov was played in both games, but it was on 2 different players. So that's just something to note. So they did repeat, but it's different players.